Good morning once again. If you're just joining us, you're watching Morning Cafe. This is a BSR Tuesday, and this morning we are asking the question, how is it that you are, having money, making profits, or just having a decent income, but you are still broke? Is it a spending problem, or is it, just a bad relationship with money? And to help me with this conversation, you have George Oyuga in studio. George is the Director of Retirement Solutions at Akuza Assets Management. George, good to see you again. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you very much.
All right.
Good morning to our viewers as well. Yes.
Let me start with that point that I started with, hapo kwa intro. Is it a bad relationship with money that sometimes some people have a decent income. I am making profits in my business, but at the end of the day, there's nothing for me to count on that, I'm good financially and I'm financially stable. Yes.
Well, I want to agree with that preposition, that indeed it is simply a relationship issue with money. Money takes you through certain cycles. And one of those cycles would be that you have the relationship that builds that income. That relationship creates an avenue for earning. When the earnings come, your dance with the money that lands in your hands must be such that it elevates you to the next level where you are able to save. Then after savings, you can invest. By investing, you convert the income now to an asset, which then also earns you something. Then that way, then you're able to break from that cycle. Otherwise, if you remain stuck on the income dance flow, then definitely that is why people earn some good money, because success is not in how much you earn, but it's in how you manage the little that actually lands into your hands. So it's about a financial management issue.
So how basically is it possible? Is it about not being able to save properly that, we're talking about making profits, but still remaining broke? How does it look like exactly?
Well, I want to approach it differently in that we go through certain cycles in life. And this takes us from the dependency stage to the earning stage. Then we build onto growth. Now, when we are at the earning stage, many people arrive at that stage with what I would call money wounds or financial injuries. So if we are patient in that particular platform, trying to heal our past money wounds or financial injuries, then definitely we would be stunted in terms of growth or pursuits going forward. Yeah, so from a psychological point of view, because I'm blending psychology and finance to do something we call financial therapy. So within that, then you discover that we have so many people in that stage where you are on the earning stage, but indeed you are a patient, admitted in the world of economic lives, such that your lifestyles are basically trying to just heal your money wounds. And those money wounds then would definitely hamper your growth prospects. They would definitely stunt anything else that you want to build on. So if you approach it from that point, then we are talking about financial therapy.
But when you talk about money wounds, we don't hear about money wounds, a lot. What does that mean for the benefit of our viewer?
Money wounds are those pains that we encounter because of how we related with money in the past. So depending on maybe decisions we made some time back, maybe we took loans that never did what was intended for, because in Kenya, by the way, if everyone did everything they wrote on the loan as the purpose for borrowing, we would be a developed country by now.
We are borrowing without purpose.
Exactly. We borrow without purpose, and we don't do what we intended to do. That is on the bigger scale of things. When it comes to the minute one, the granular one, it is when you are earning. If you don't employ the tool we call a budget, then definitely the intention that your earning is supposed to fulfill in your life also misses the point. And every time you miss that point, I can assure you, you are picking a wound somewhere, and that wound will elevate to become a financial injury, and there you go. It spirals into something totally different.
So when you talk about sometimes, of course, we are taking loans, but we're not taking it purposefully. So how should we be taking these loans? To do what exactly? Say I want to buy a car. Would you advise somebody to take a loan for a car or for a mortgage or for a business? How should, working with loans, how should we go about that?
Okay. We are in a in an economy that is inclined towards consumption. And one of the biggest mistakes or the causes of those money wounds I talk about is because people borrow for consumption. Borrowing should actually be leveraging the opportunities you have so that you're borrowing to invest or borrowing to boost a potentially income generating space to make it now thrive even much better because of the funding aspect. But when you borrow to consume, then definitely we are pushing money that is coming to us at a cost into a space that is not earning us anything. So we are on a negative from the word go, because what you've borrowed comes at a cost. You know, this thing people discuss and call interest. How much interest will you charge? No, that thing, don't call it interest because it's not in your interest.
So the interest of the bank. It should
actually be the cost of borrowing. When we see it in that perspective, then we realize that now we are calling it the right way we are supposed to call it. Yeah, so when people borrow for consumption, that is the first problem we have. The other thing again is whatever you need, you're better off saving towards it because you get it cheaper. You are able to also manage gratifying those immediate needs or that immediate gratification that one always thrives to have. You're able to postpone and delay that and manage that because we're in an economy where everybody wants everything instant. Yeah, and if you are consuming things at the forefront, chances are that definitely we'll get ourselves into those problems I'm calling money wounds.
So what role does delayed, gratification play in building wealth, and why are we, as Kenyans, reluctant about it?
Okay. One is that we are not very, very patient with the journey of saving towards what we need. Yet that is I would say, the most affordable or cheapest avenue towards acquiring whatever it is. So if you're building, maybe you want to get something and you're feeling, you have two options. One is consume that thing at the forefront and then pay for it later, which of course is normally the most painful path when it comes to the total overall cost of all of that. Because every loan you borrow, I can assure you, you'll always pay 2.5 or 3 times, depending on what interest rates you're being charged. And because people look at interest rates in that interesting way that calls it interest and not cost, definitely we don't see the pain because our mind settle on the monthly repayments. But if you sum them up, all of them, you end up paying almost 2 to 3 times what you could have paid. But on this other end, if you decided I want to save for that thing I want, one of the things is that I have managed that desire to have it at the forefront. So I'll defer that and I'll have it at the end. By having at the end, I'll only save to a certain extent, maybe 60 or 70%. The money I am saving in a good space will earn me the difference. Then I'll now be able to get that thing at that point at the end of the journey, not at the beginning of it. Yeah.
So can one save while still in debt?
Well, you can save and when you're still in debt, but I would want to draw a line between the two. Because what are you saving for? And then what did you borrow for? Yes.
How about saving or say an emergency fund, for health, education, if you have kids? But you're doing this and you're still in debt. Is that a purposeful, way of saving and still also maintaining this debt? And how can you maintain that debt if you're saving towards an emergency fund and you're still in debt?
So if I get your question right, are you saying I am borrowing to get it into my emergency fund?
I say you were in debt initially.
I was in debt.
You were in debt, but now the money that you're getting in, aside from your income, of course, your biashara, but now you're trying to save this that you have, that you're getting in, but you're still in debt. You haven't paid the debt that you took maybe to finance this business that you have here.
Okay, well, that's fine because these incidences do not happen in isolation. Yeah, because at some point, every debt you borrow today has a horizon to maybe 36 months, 48 months, 60 months, and the like. So in that process, you will not be focused on it only because life has to continue anyway. That's why even when we recommend budgeting models, we talk about 50, 30, 20, where we are saying the 30 and the 20 can be paying debt while at the same time you are also saving. Yeah, so it is possible to work with the two, but at the end of the day, prioritize clearing the debt because even in clearing the debt, you're saving yourself additionally accruing interests. Yes.
Back to the point on sometimes we have money wounds because of our relationship with money.
Yeah.
There's this phrase that we hear a lot nowadays, ati tumia pesa ikuzoe. Is that really a good relationship with money? If you use it, then it gets, used to you. Now it doesn't want to leave you. And then I hear a lot also that, the way you talk to money also makes it want to stay. Is there a language for money that you need to relate, with money when you're handling it?
Okay. I'll call it a dance. Yeah, because I'm very vocal when it comes to the subject of money management, and I call it money dance. Now, money dance invites you to something that is a bit more exciting. It invites you to something that transcends cultures, something that transcends religion, something that transcends age. That is the dance. Now, this dance happens in 5 stages. You have the stage where you are dancing because that is where the income is coming in. You have the stage where you are dancing because you are now managing what has come in, and you'd want to save or you'd want to move it to the next level. Now at that point, if you're using a tool like the budgeting tool, use the 50-30-20 model, which says everything you need to spend, let it fit in your 50%. Then there's a 30 for savings, or if you're paying a loan, then channel the 30 towards the loan, and then 20 for savings. Now, this tumia pesa ikuzoe should be limited to that 50.
Not past 50.
Not past 50, yeah? So that at the end of the day, we also told don't muzzle an ox in the threshing field, is it? So you need to enjoy what you're using, but moderately, because when you limit it to that 50%, you can have all your life fit into that if you're really, really keen on ensuring that after this dance, there'll still be another dance yonder, and that dance is now to help me get to the next level, rather than stay glued on that particular space.
It's interesting that you talk about dance with money, and this book that is in front of you, if I say it clearly, it says, Dance with My Money. George, this is a book written by George Oyugi, I'm assuming. Okay, that is you.
Yes, this is me.
But what are you trying to address with this particular book, Dance with My Money?
This book is trying to open people's eyes to those dance patterns that I talked about. Because what I discovered when doing it was the fact that we have those 5 stages. We have the stage where you have a relationship, for example, with TV47, is it?
Yes.
How do you manage that relationship? That is a dance floor on its own. Because it is one thing that tweaks your mind, where you, in this book, I posit that you can actually do things differently, such that you start seeing your employer as your client. Because in the business world, your client is this person who buys from you a good or buys from you a service. So you have a service that you're giving to TV47 that this particular client is paying for consistently every month. So we end up now calling them employer and we are employees, is it? The moment you walk into this space every day with that employer-employee mentality, you'll always walk around like a victim. But when you start looking at your employer as your client, who buys your service every month consistently or weekly, depending on how the pay remuneration pattern is, then that changes your mindset completely. You'll always be in this space as a problem solver, someone who wants to make their client feel good, make their client happy. That already changes your perspective and culture within an organization. That is dance floor number 1. Dance floor number 2 is when that relationship has been managed, it creates an opportunity for earnings. This earning now introduces you to a different relationship. We are now relating with what has come in, which is the money. If you don't channel it into certain patterns, which will be now configured within the template of your budget, the 50-30-20 or do 50-20-20-10, depending on where you are, definitely your money cycle will remain there. If you don't handle it that way, it will remain there. And that's why people start agitating for higher pay, but success is not in how much you earn. It is in how you manage the little that comes into your hands. So if you manage that space very well, at the end of that dance, you'll have something left called savings, is it? But you know, if you don't do that, and what happens is, you'll always look at your money and look at the month, and you discover that you have more month left than the money every time.
Yes.
And that happens, and you get into that vicious cycle. So how do we break that? By introducing people to such tools like budgeting tools, enabling them to acquire certain skills around debt, money management, and that means, are you able to also manage that immediate gratification whenever it knocks? Because we are in a society whereby if you're in that space, and now back to the money wounds, because this blends psychology and finance to create that counseling, financial counseling approach. Because after every chapter, I have a therapy room that one goes through to reflect, for this particular dance, how is my dance? And that is what the book is about. So get to savings. If you don't get to savings and you have wounds, pause there and try and heal those wounds first. Because the wounds we have would manifest. And remember when you were young, maybe this uncle of yours comes, visits you, and puts some 200 shillings in your pocket.
Mom takes it.
Mom takes it.
Yes.
So that already creates in you what happens that you start seeing money as a scarce commodity. And the day you land on it, all those wounds erupt and they come out. That's why the first salary, if you remember, we don't want to put you on the spot, but how did you spend your first salary?
Well,
that comes in. How do you spend the jackpot maybe somebody gets? How do you spend maybe the first loan you have? Things like those ones. The money that comes in. When you get maybe those people who earn like the 13th check, how do you spend that 13th salary? You know, lump sum money coming into your hands is the worst enemy. We are our worst enemies when it comes to how we handle lump sums. Why? Because we have money wounds. Those things you crave about. Now you are there, you feel like, oh, this money that has landed, now I'm not going to buy a phone. I'm going to buy a camera that can call. There's a difference between that and a phone that can take photos, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, you are there, you're now looking at other things. How do you even sort money issues? Maybe the wounds I have are that I did not go to a group of schools. I went to school in groups. So my wounds will be healing in my children because I'll now be pushing them towards going to a group of schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a caller, George. Just hold on there. Good morning. Where is he from? Oh, okay. Okay, it wasn't a caller.
Oh.
Kindly interact with us on our socials. TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, on X, TV47 SKE. Shortly, there will be a number on your screen. We're inviting you, of course, to call in if you have any questions for George here. Of course, I'm sure he'll be happy to answer. So far, so good. I hope you're learning. Grab a pen and paper if you do, if you can. But George, when you're talking about money wounds in borderlands, how do we break away from this? Because you're saying that sometimes these money wounds that we have from childhood follows us up to, you know, the older age. So how do we break away from money wounds?
The process begins with self-awareness. Yeah. So what you need is sit with a therapist, and this therapist can be able to help you get to the being self-aware. When you're self-aware, then you'll start linking some of these things. You'll link patterns around your life. You'll be looking at things like, these things have been always positioning like goals. They're actually not goals per se. They are actually manifestations of opportunities to heal my money wounds. So when you're able to understand your past, you understand how you came about, where you've reached and the like, how you were brought up, how you interacted with money when you were young, how you interacted with money when you started working, all those things, then the therapist will help you to be able to bring them to the fore. Then once they are on the fore, then you can be able to now tackle them as you continue. Yeah, because why is it that for some people, when you have money, going out to either tell your body thank you, pigia mwili pole, or asanti, depending on what the journey has been, is normally an exposure to things that are toxic. It's an exposure to maybe junk food. Even kids growing up knowing that, by the way, hey, today we have gone out, but going out is what?
Kupigia mwili pole.
Ikupigia mwili pole, but you cannot pigia mwili pole when what you're consuming now is in the category of junk, or what you're consuming now is in the category of things that are toxic. Because at the end of the day, it already just tells you that this is misplaced. Yeah, because if you're really treating yourself well, you should be ticking the box on everything health, you should be ticking the box on things that are less harmful, you know, any exposure to anything that is there. So that already tells me as a psychologist that at the end of the day, there is something amiss in this particular, yes.
All right, let's hear from Kevin. Kevin is calling us from Embakasi. Good morning, Kevin. Kevin? Do you have him? All right, we lost him. But even as you're talking about this money, when sometimes, you know, somebody would want to take their children, you know, for outing, let's say, or kupigia mwili pole hapo nje. But sometimes there are people who feel guilty, you know, when money comes in and they want to go out and, you know, treat themselves just to try and heal their inner child. Yeah. Does that guilt also qualify as a money wound?
Well, it does, because of how it manifests the whole episode. If we are planning, and we're planning together with our children, and we are saving together, so that they are involved in the journey towards this thing. We say we want to save for a 1 week holiday, let's say in the month of September. We are in that journey, we are saving together. Everybody is building towards this sport. One, we have a budget target we are working towards. Then we have the process. We know how much you're putting aside per week. We know how much they have also agreed to sacrifice. Yeah, maybe they are saying, okay, let's do without A, B, C, D for this period because we are targeting that. You see, there's a journey there. Now, when you see people out, even on Sundays, you see people out on holidays or weekends, the question you need to ask them, by the way, could you help me appreciate how you planned for this? If it wasn't planned for, then it means it was haphazard. And anything haphazard already simply just tells you that an opportunity has popped and somebody has seen a chance to pop a pill for the pain.
Now that's where guilt comes in.
Exactly.
Kevin is back. Kevin, good morning. I hope you're there. Talk to us, Kevin. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my question was, you talk of the 50, 30, 20 rule. Now, I want to understand. Assume sasa mtu anaane pesa kidogo. Now, assume sasa naane kama 20k, yes? Utaweza aje kudivide hiyo pesa kwa 50, 30, 20, well, hata hii yote ikiwa in full haitoshi mahitaji yangu, nitasave nini? Hii now inakuwa ngumu. How do we go about it now? The salary that I'm getting itself not enough before hata ni divide hiyo. So maybe how about it?
All right. Thank you so much, Kevin, for that question. It's a very good question, George. You're working at 20,000 Kenya shillings, and we are saying 50, 30, 20 rule, of course, for investing, saving, and enjoying life.
Yes.
So how does he go about that while still living, you know, just an equally good life?
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, for that question. And I admire the interest in that you're not really focusing on the amount, you're actually focusing on implementing the pattern. And implementing that pattern does not exclude anyone, whether you are earning little money or you are earning much money or maybe adequate. Of course, nobody admits they are there, but you're there. So you're talking about 20,000.
Yes.
So if you use the 50, 30, 20 rule, then what we are saying is that your monthly recurrent expenditures on any given month should not exceed 10,000 shillings. So in this 10,000 bob, you have paid your rent. In this 10,000 bob, you've had your transport. You've had every other thing that recurs, your bills and all that. Then the 6,000 shillings, which now will be the 30%, would maybe go towards, if you have a loan you're servicing, So you give that a priority so that you actually push and reduce it the most you can. Then the 20% now will be the 4,000 shillings. So in these 4,000 shillings, ensure at any given time you have that money going into your saving. And I can assure you, Kevin, that if you do this consistently for just a couple of months, the build-up of the 20% will start giving you what I would call the sleeping pill, because now you can sleep peacefully, because you can see your worth in something that is coming up. So it is possible irrespective of how much you earn. Our problem normally is that we end up living beyond our means. Yeah, and that is one thing that many people struggle with, because it's also a psychological thing, that we end up always assuming that people are seeing through us to see even where we stay, see what we eat, and all those kind of things. Nobody cares, by the way. You meet out here, you appear, smile. No one cares whether you slept in a mabati house. No one cares whether you slept in a mud house or in a stone building. No. At the end of the day, live within your means. And this 6,000 we are saying now we are repaying, we are also assuming that in its borrowing, it was not being borrowed to satisfy a need or to go into our expenses. You are borrowing to fund a project or fund something that would build you. And that means that whenever you feel like you want to borrow, ask yourself, where is this money going? If it is going into a space that will not earn you higher than what you're being charged to get it, then you are simply enrolling yourself to become somebody's employee, and this is your bank.
Loans.
Yeah, you're working for them. You know, even guys who take mortgages, someone just signed up a mortgage and comes and tells you, hey, George, nowadays me, I'm in my own house. Tell them you're lying, man. You will be in your house the day you finish paying that mortgage. Otherwise, you've just changed your landlord. Yeah.
Which is the bank.
Yeah, now your new landlord is a bank. You've just changed your landlord.
So anytime that house can go away.
Definitely.
Do you think Kenyans realize it, that, you know, when taking this mortgage, that house, when you say your friend tells you that, no, this is my house nowadays, and you tell them no, do you think we are literate enough to understand that these houses, when they're on mortgage, they do not belong to us?
We are not. That is the unfortunate bit, because our minds are fixated on the item we are buying, not the journey that it costs us. Yeah, so many people don't realize that, and that's why they don't raise their hands up when we say those people who are paying rent. The guys of mortgage should also raise up their hands.
They should raise their hands.
They should raise their hands, because they are paying rent and paying rent more expensively, by the way. Because look at someone who goes for a mortgage of around maybe say 20 million. They will pay over and above almost 250,000 per month, is it? If they were to rent that same house, their rent would actually be lower than that, almost half of that. So when you take a mortgage, it simply just means, number one, you're potentially doubling your rent, is it, over something that you do not own until the last installment is paid. And the way mortgages are structured, they are structured such that you pay the interest first and then the principal later. That's why people say, I've been paying this thing for the last 5 years and I can't see it moving. It's because you've been paying interest, you know?
Let's hear from Robert. Robert is calling us from Bomet. Robert, good morning.
Good morning, Sue.
Yes, talk to us.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine. The topic has been so interesting. And it is like, I was almost blaming the devil for nothing. Our visitor who is today in the studio has mentioned
Robert,
something,
turn
and
down
it is so
the
crucial.
volume of your TV, kindly.
Okay.
Yes. Turn it down so that we can hear you clearly.
Are you getting me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was saying,
Yes.
in fact, I was almost blaming the devil for nothing. Issue of money is sure.
We are losing you, Robert. We can't hear you. You can move away from the TV.
For now, I'm out.
Yes. Now talk to us.
Okay, I was saying,
Yes.
hello?
Yes. Hello, Robert.
Yes, I'm now getting you.
Yes.
I was saying I was almost blaming the devil for nothing.
Uh-huh.
Yet the problem is in me. But I can see this topic as I can see it will solve most of my problems.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I like the 50-30-20 rule.
Mm-hmm.
So because time will not allow us, let me only ask our sister George to tell us how we can access this book in Bomet.
All right. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Robert, for that question. Financial literacy in Bomet, I think that is what he's talking about, because you're talking about books. We have Dance with My Money, and just books with that offer literacy about, money, finances, and everything in between.
Yeah.
So how can it be accessed in those, say, underserved regions, but in this case, where he is, Bomet?
Where is in Bomet? Okay, I don't know whether my distributor has presence in Bomet, but the book is available with Nuria bookstores, who are currently distributing it on my behalf. I'm yet to expand it to many others. But one of the other things I also did for access was to create a website for it. So there's a website to Robert, moneydancetherapy.com. If they go to that website, they'll find this book converted into audio, all of it. So you can actually listen on the go, and then one can also buy a chapter instead of buying the whole book. You don't have enough money, you can listen to a chapter at 100 bob only. And there you are. You can begin your dance as early as after this show.
He's also very appreciative of the fact that, you've broken it down, the 50-30-20 rule.
Yes.
So I bet he can get it online, these books.
Yes,
But aside from Dance with My Money, George, any other material that would promote financial literacy in these underserved areas?
Yeah.
How can they be assessed? And as people who are in the finance docket sector, do you think you're doing enough to promote financial literacy, even for people in these areas that Bomet, Turkana, Wajir, those areas?
Okay, well, we woke up to the need the other day, and if I take just a minute to explain what the journey has been. Remember the time we had COVID, The medical space responded in two ways. We have the curative aspect of it, where we would say anyone who is infected can be admitted to the ICUs, we can manage it. Then we became overwhelmed, and we resorted to what I call preventive medicine. Preventive medicine now, of course, works better in a catastrophe than the curative side of it. Because curative, no flights, first of all. Hospitals are, overstretched, people don't have the resources. But curative was simple things like, number one, are we able to wash our hands, put on a mask, social distance, those things, they helped us contain COVID. Now in the financial wellness platform again, we also have the curative and we have the preventive. Now preventive is financial literacy. So when I hear someone like Robert desiring that, Robert, you are on the right track, Why? Because when you know some things, and the things I know today, I wish I knew them when I was 20, 25. I would have turned out to be better than I am today. And the same applies to many people I get to talk to. So in the financial services sector now, we are really trying. I have seen so many organizations, including the company I work for, Kuza Asset Management. We are very big now on trying to create maybe awareness, help people appreciate things like, by the way, what are you doing putting your money in a bank? Your money should be in a money market fund, those things. And we help people at least appreciate that we've been doing things this way, now we can do them in a better way, this other way. So we have financial literacy going on. Our website, kuza.africa, also has a lot of material there that one can look at. And many other people are also doing that across the board, I know.
All right, just hold on to that point. I know you're talking about matters that are very important.
Okay.
But we have Francis on the line. Francis, good morning.
Good morning too. How are you doing?
Good, Francis. Talk to us.
Okay, I have a question that is actually eating most of us. And, in Africa, dependence ratio is very high. And most of these jobs, the taxes are very high. So you find that maybe you earn, as the earlier caller said, you're earning less. You have some family backlogs that you're carrying.
Yes.
Maybe paying school fees for your brother, sisters. And then when you look at the rules, 50, 30, 20, it becomes very hard because most of the people who maybe are in employment sector realize that their money ends the day they earn. So that's what I want actually to know very much, because it appears nice when you say that you save G20, but now the reality on the ground hits differently. And then also I want our guests to tell us more. Is it between the bank
Yes.
and the circle? Where is the most appropriate place to save your money? And maybe give more reasons towards it.
All right. Thank you so much, Francis. Those are very good questions that you have there. George, is it only good on paper, this 50, 30, 20 rule? Because he's talking about higher taxes.
Yeah.
He has mentioned something about black tax, higher expenses. You have kids, you have hospital bills, money ends on payday. So is the 50, 30, 20 rule only good on paper?
Okay. I think I resonate with what Francis is saying, in that the experience for many people actually is within the picture that he has painted. But we are saying that hope is not lost, because when we began putting the train to the rail, then slowly by slowly we will end up recovering and getting us to where we are supposed to be. The fact that Francis and many other people may be going through those family burdens we talked about is because somebody, their predecessor, did not have a dance that would fulfill the promise in Proverbs. A wise man leaves an inheritance for the grandchildren. Yeah? So if they did not get to that particular point, it means that we who are coming after them will have to support upwards, support our space, and try as much as possible to also create a lifeline for those who are coming after us. And that is the only way we can be able to cure all this thing people call black tax. And it is black tax because it is becoming painful, and people are not able to talk about what? Talk about honor. You know, honor and respect are two different things. So honor, when honor comes, it means that it's from you, not a demand from the other side. Now, when Francis talks about stretched earnings, we said our focus is not pegged on the how much one earns, but on how one manages what they earn. So you have three things in your structure. There is the top line, which is the earning, the expense line, which we talked about, manage things and live within your means, and then the bottom line of what is being left. So Francis, explore ways of increasing the avenues for your top line. That's why we talk about people having side hustles. And it is not bad to actually leverage your skills and earn more, you know. We're also talking about challenging the environment you are in. When you start seeing your employer as a client, you can start positioning yourself for better earnings. So how do you increase that earning and involve the other household members? The days of walking around with titles called sole breadwinner are over.
Nowadays it's 50-50, you say?
Yes.
Is it
not 50-50, it is equitable, not equal.
Okay.
Equitable distribution of skills and resources. You don't have to bring in equal, and you also don't split the bills. No, I am saying bring the money into a pool, but let everybody have their hands on deck. Yes. So
do you recommend for a joint savings account for people who are married?
it is not a joint savings account per se. It is a joint pool that recognizes family income. Subject for another
Subject for another day. Francis also asked,
yes,
between bank and circles, which one would you recommend?
Okay, my answer is outside that list because my answer is actually a money market fund.
Okay.
Yeah, because let me put it this way. When I put my money in the bank, 10 months, 1 year down the line, my money is what it was.
Depreciated.
And maybe minus account management costs, you know. all those costs and the like.
Yeah.
If I put my money again in the SACCO, every time I would want that money, the SACCO will charge me 12% minimum because they ask me to borrow against my savings. So that means there's a cost to anything that goes into the SACCO. And then many people don't have the discipline of always allowing SACCO savings to be higher than SACCO borrowings. So a good number of people, always almost 95% and above, are always on the negative, where they have a loan that is higher than their savings. Because the SACCO gets you to a point whereby the moment the zeros get to like 3, you want to take 3 times of that and do something. And maybe the doing something does not go to an investment. It goes to something maybe tailored on consumption. So what happens? I would want a money market fund. So I'm introducing Francis to something new. The third option, which is the best, is a money market fund. A money market fund, if I put my money in there as little as 1,000 shillings, at the end of that month, that 1,000 shillings will have earned me something upwards, even of almost up to 13%. If I want to borrow from it or take money out again, I will not charge for the first withdrawal. I will not be charged for the second withdrawal. I may be charged for the third one, but the third one only comes in if I don't plan myself well. Yeah, so money market is a more superior space. I'm introducing him to a third option. The answer is C.
The answer is C, not even in the list of A or B.
No.
I hope Francis has gotten something from that, but I'm told time is not on our side. But before we go, we are talking about mortgages and how people paying mortgage sometimes don't realize that they're paying more rent than the average person who is paying rent. So from where you sit, would you recommend mortgage or just get a house that you can rent? Just to clarify on that point.
Okay, the moment you desire a mortgage, it means you have assessed the capability and you feel like I am capable, is it? So what you do is walk into a mortgage place, get the quotation that says this house you want to buy for 20 million, pay for it for a period of, let's say, 15 years, okay? You will be paying a monthly of I'm just giving rough examples. We don't have time for calculation. 220,000, is it? Now, on the side, go and ask yourself, how much does it cost to rent that particular house, maybe in the same estate? You'll actually find that the rent may be around maybe upwards of 110, 120, or 80 to 100, is it? Now, prepare yourself to still spend the 220, okay? But take 110 to rent and take the other bit of around 140 to a savings. By the time you'll finish this same journey of 15 years, when the other party is paying the mortgage, you will have bought almost 2 of these houses. That is the trick.
Interesting. Which appreciates the money. If you're talking about, just putting up that money in 2 houses and then getting in rent.
Exactly.
That's it for this week's episode of Biashara Tuesday. That is George Oyuga, Director of Retirement Solutions at Kuza Asset Management Limited. George, we are hoping that you'll be here next week so that we can continue with this topic.
I'll make sure I keep my phone on for your call.
And of course, thank you so much for being part of this conversation, for calling in. Be sure to stay tuned again next week. George will be back. Save those questions for then. Asante sana.
Thank you.
We are taking a very short break. We're coming back with first aid measures of fractures and bone injuries with Brenda Moruge. Stay with us.